Namaः Shivaya.
Good morning, Saji.
Good morning, Acharya ji.
Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sarvavahai Tejasvinavadhitam Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we will continue with where we left off. We had finished verse number 28, and so we will chant verse number 29. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Apane Juhvati Pranam Prane Panam Tatha Pare Prana Panagati Rudva Pranayama Parayana. Okay, so we are on the subject of the various yajnas only. And he says, Tatha, so also. So also what? Apare, there are other people, Pranayama Parayanaha, who are committed to doing pranayama as a yajna, which is what? Rudhva Prana Panagati, which is Rudhva, stopping the flow of inhalation and exhalation, Prana Apana Gati. So Rudhva Prana Apana Gati. Gati is the flow, Prana Apana. Inhalation, exhalation. So Rudhva Prana Apana, who stop the flow of inhalation and exhalation. And therefore they are doing Pranayama Parayanaha. And others, you have to read again, Apare. What do they do? The same people who are doing Pranayama Parayanaha, and they are stopping the flow of inhalation and exhalation. Juhati, they offer as an oblation. What do they do? Pranam Apani. The exhalation, Pranam, they offer into the incoming breath, Apanam. That is the first thing they do. And then Prane Apanam. They offer the inhalation, Prane, into the exhalation, Apana. Okay. A little technicality here. We'll just look at it. So Pranayama Sadhana is saying, Krishna is saying, it's an extremely useful discipline. Which layer of the body, which layers of the body, layers meaning koshas, which koshas of the body are affected by pranayama? Anybody?
Pranmaya kosha.
Pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha.
Then?
Manomaya kosha.
Manomaya kosha.
Then?
And the Annamaya kosha also.
So no, Vijnanamaya is not affected. Okay. So Annamaya kosha is the grossest layer, the physical layer. The next layer is Pranayama kosha, the energy sheath or the pranic sheath. And the Manomaya kosha, the emotional or psychological personality. And what is the location of Pranamaya kosha? It is in between the Annamaya and the Manomaya, isn't it? And therefore, when you do pranayama, what happens? This pranayama kosha is sandwiched between Annamaya and Manomaya, and therefore any manipulation to the pranamaya kosha, remember, it will affect both the adjoining koshas. That is why we say that pranayama affects Annamaya, Pranamaya and Manomaya. So in this pranayama, what am I doing? I am disciplining the pranamaya kosha. And in that process of disciplining the pranamaya kosha, I will be influencing my annamaya kosha as well as my manomaya kosha, which means what? That my physical health will improve and my mental health will also improve. Okay. Now, Shastra says, normally when we talk about pranayama, we look at it as a secular activity, right? For manipulating these three koshas. But Shastra says that pranayama is of two types. One is purely physical, which most of us do as an exercise for improving health. And then it is a secular discipline, a secular sadhana. But Shastram says you should convert that into a religious discipline, a yajna. And that is what Krishna is pointing out over here. That pranayama can be practiced as a yajna, as a Vedic discipline. Okay. Now, how to make pranayama into Vedic discipline? Because we just do pranayama. How to make any sadhana, for that matter, into a religious discipline? How does one do that? Anybody? How does one, for example, convert Surya Namaskara into a religious activity?
Doing it consistently without any break.
One
Mantra chanting.
Sorry?
Mantra chanting.
By what?
Chanting Surya mantras.
Chanting Surya mantras, right? So it is the association. When you say mantra, remember it is the Lord's name. It is the nama, Easwaran nama, Bhagavan nama. So any religious discipline that we have, it becomes religious only because of the moment I say religious, I'm saying associated with Bhagavan. These ideas which we should be very clear about. When I am saying something is religious, do you know the etymology of the word religion? What is the etymology of the word religion? There is a Latin word called religare, which means to bind. Okay. So even in that language, it's taken as binding. We call it yoga, yuktaha. So the association of any activity, yuktaha, association with the name of the Lord is what makes it a religious discipline. So if you want to convert your pranayama into a religious discipline, you can simply, chant. There is a traditional mantra called the pranayama mantra. It goes Om Buhu, Om Bhavaha, Om Subaha, Om Mahaha, Om Tapaha. So this is the traditional mantra you can chant. And if you don't want to do all that, you can simply chant Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna, Devi Devi, Ganesha Ganesha. Any mantra you can chant. So that is why those who are in the ashram, those who are associated with the ashram, when we do the counting for the pranayama, the 4, 16, 8 counting, how do you do it? Those who have been in the ashram.
Om 1, Om 2.
Om 1, Om 2, Om 3.
You see that we are not even paying attention to what we are doing, but you are doing Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4. You are chanting the name of the Lord. So as I said, there is a traditional mantra, which is Om Buhu, Om Bhuhava, all that is there, but we can simply say Om. Or you can say Rama Rama. Or Om is very simple because you're counting actually. So Om 1, Om 2, Om 3. That makes it religious discipline. That is what is being talked about here. And in terms of Shastra, when the mantra is involved, is included in your practice, it is called Sagarbha Pranayama. Sagarbha Pranayama. It becomes a spiritual sadhana. And minus the name of the Lord, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're counting your breath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is Agarbha Pranayama, secular pranayama, because you have excluded the Lord from it. Unfortunately, the meaning of secular is to exclude the Lord. Okay, so we should always, as Vedic students, we should always do Sagarbha Pranayama. Chant Om. It doesn't take time. Plus, it gives you a little more, just rather than chanting one. Om 1 is a little more space, right? So Om 1, Om 2, a little more. So this can not only improve the physical health, it will improve the mental health, and it will improve my spiritual health. Because of this context, remember that Krishna is not talking about agarbha pranayama, not talking about secular pranayama. He's talking about pranayama as a yajna. So it is sagarbha pranayama. In fact, if you are a practitioner of Kundalini yoga, we should know that Kundalini Shakti is nothing but pranic power, potential pranic energy. Similarly, at the level of the pranayama kosha also, there is potential power. At the manomaya kosha also, memory is a potential power. So any potential power is called Kundalini, coiled. Kundalini literally means coiled. And pranayama can be used for tapping all these potential powers. That is why in these advanced yoga texts, you read about siddhis. People who are advanced yogis, long practice of pranayama, they have miraculous powers called siddhis. Of course, all siddhis are obstacles. And in Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Maharishi himself says, never use these siddhis for material gains. We say because they are all maya. Don't use them because they are all maya. And the whole purpose of our religious practice, of our spiritual sadhana is what? To falsify maya, to understand maya as mithya. And therefore, don't use any mithya, at least in your spiritual practice. So what is pranayama meant for? In terms of our Vedic tradition, pranayama is just a sadhana. There are only two sadhanas. In Vedic tradition, there are only two final results of any sadhana. One is chitta shuddhi. One set of sadhanas will give you chitta shuddhi. The other single sadhana will give you jnana and moksha. So this clarity we should have, that there is only two ends, two objectives which I can aim for as a spiritual seeker. One is chitta shuddhi when I'm a beginner. One is moksha when I'm advanced. And therefore, pranayama can give you focusing power. Pranayama can give me quietude of the mind, which is why with long practice of pranayama, your mind becomes quiet and people get addicted to that quietude. It's disciplining the pranas. And this pranayama, of course, you must be all familiar with this. I'm just repeating. There are three aspects of pranayama: Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka. Right? Puraka pranayama is that pranayama. Now, there's slight difference here, right? Any pranayama should have these three: Puraka, Rechaka, and Kumbhaka. But traditional texts say there are three types of pranayama: Puraka pranayama, Rechaka pranayama, and Kumbhaka pranayama. Now, given that Purak, Rechak, and Kumbhak are all integrated in one pranayama, what could be the reason for saying there are three pranayamas? Anybody? All was nothing to do with Bhagavad Gita, but still.
Maybe because in every of these three steps, the like pranas that are moving the body are different, the effects.
No, here it is very simple that whichever of these three you are giving more focus on during that particular practice. So in Puraka pranayama, if you are focusing more on inhalation, your attention is more on inhalation, it's Puraka pranayama. If your attention is more on exhalation, it's Rechaka pranayama. And if you are more intent on the retention, then it is Kumbhaka pranayama. And he says different types of people. In fact, if you look at the yogic texts, they say that people practice different type of pranayamas. So some are Puraka, some are Kumbhaka, some are Rechaka. All of them have to be taken as yajna itself. The bottom line is, don't think of them as, secular pranayama. They are all meant as yajna. And the moment there is a yajna, there is a oblation, offering, right? And therefore he says, here if you look at it, where are we? Apane juhvati prana. The first three words. Apane juhvati prana. What are you saying? Pranam apane juhvati. So apanam is what? Inhalation or exhalation?
Inhalation.
Inhalation.
As long as we are clear about that, right? The normal meaning taken in yoga texts is that prana is inhalation, apana is exhalation. Vedanta gives exactly opposite. Why Vedanta? Shastram, I will say, gives an exactly opposite definition. So it says, Prak Gamanavan Vayuhu Pranaha. Prak is what? Upwards, outside. So Prak Gamanavan Vayuhu. That air which is going out of your body is called Pranaha. So Pranaha means exhalation. And the other definition is Adho Gamanavan Vayuhu Apanaha. Adho means downwards. The air which is going into your body, that is Apanaha. So Apanaha is inhalation, Pranaha is exhalation. And the first pranayam he is saying here, remember this, the reason for having these four sets of words over here, there is a reason. Apane juhati pranam into apanam. Apane means up into apanam. So into inhalation, pranam juhati. Exhalation is being offered as the oblation. So which is the focus now? Think of it as a yajna. Think of it as a yajna, as a that yajna kund, the fire.
The apana.
Why is the apana the focus?
Prana.
Because you said prana is the one which we inhale as per the Shastras and apana is the one which we exhale. So
I didn't say that at all. I said exactly the opposite. I said apana means inhalation and prana means exhalation.
So prana is the one which is the offering.
Prana is the offering,
Yes.
which is the exhalation.
Exhalation, got it.
Right. But it is being offered into what? In the Homakund, what is the main, focus? The fire. Because all offerings go into the fire, right? So the focus is on the fire. What is the fire in this particular apane pranam juhati?
The incoming breath. The incoming breath, the inhalation.
Inhalation, apanam is the fire, and therefore the focus is on apanam. This is what is meant by Puraka Pranayama. Okay. When I said the three types of pranayama, this is what I meant. So the first type he is referring you to apana juhati pranam. The apana is the fire, the inhalation is the fire, the puraka is the fire into which the exhalation is being offered, and therefore it is Puraka Pranayama. So at the time of inhalation, why do we say that? Very, very interesting thing. Pranam juhati. Right? The exhalation is being offered to the inhalation. What does it actually mean? It may be technical, but in our study, no word should be accepted as it is unless you have understood. So when I tell you apane pranam juhati, I'm telling you into the inhalation, I'm offering the exhalation. What does it mean? You have to think a bit. What does it mean?
A prana offered into the fire, like a yajna.
No. No. I'll repeat. Apane pranam jughati. I am offering the prana, the exhalation, into the apana, the inhalation. So we said apana is the fire. What is the oblation?
The exhalations. Exhalation.
Exhalation. Okay. Now, why are we saying that prana is the oblation? Why are we saying that exhalation is the oblation? You have to understand these words very carefully. Nobody but Shankara talks about this, so we need to understand. What is an oblation? What is the final result of an oblation? Supposing you are pouring ghee into the fire. What is the
gets
result of that?
destroyed. It gets finished. It
The
gets
ghee
destroyed.
gets destroyed, or you can say the ghee is renounced. Right? You give up the ghee because you're giving it to the fire. At the time of inhalation, are you able to exhale?
No, you can
Therefore, what
only
have you
do.
given up? At the time of inhalation, if you are not able to exhale, you have renounced the exhalation. That is why the exhalation process is called the oblation. That is why apane pranam jughati. You have given up the exhalation because you are doing the inhalation. It literally means that while you are inhaling, you cannot exhale. So out of the two, inhalation and exhalation, apane and prana, what have you given up? You have given up prana. And therefore, apane pranam jughati. While you're inhaling, you have renounced the exhalation into what? Into the fire of inhalation. And therefore, exhalation has been offered into the inhalation. Apane jughati prana. The exhalation is being offered as the offering, just as the exhalation disappears into the inhalation. I mean, just as the ghee disappears into the fire, the exhalation has disappeared into the inhalation.
So it means that you're controlling the exhalation, really.
No, it
Mastery
means
of
you just cannot do the exhalation. Try exhaling while you're inhaling.
it will never happen.
You have to fill it up. It is not possible for you to exhale while you are inhaling. Either you exhale or you inhale. Therefore, if you are taking two factors, one factor when you're doing, the other factor you're renouncing. It is other way all around is also true. When you are exhaling, you cannot inhale. Okay, so that is what it means by juhati. Juhati means to offer, to renounce. The pranam, the exhalation, has been offered into the inhalation. The prana has been offered, prana has disappeared.
Sir, this is
Yeah.
a natural process. It can never happen. So what is it that you are giving up? It is naturally not possible.
Yes. So, but the point is that natural process of yours is being explained in terms of a yajna. Because it became a yajna because you are chanting the name of the Lord while you are doing it. And Krishna is explaining to you that if it is a yajna, there must be a fire, there must be an oblation. Which is the fire, which is the oblation, is explaining.
It's bringing your awareness to the process.
What you are doing, normally when we do something, we are not bothered about what we are doing. It's a natural process. You don't even think about it. It's a natural process. You don't think about it. Krishna is saying, in a yajna, your mind has to be focused. And therefore, please recognize what you are doing. You are giving the prana up because the apana is the fire. Okay. So that's one part. And the next quarter is exactly the opposite. Prane apanam. Into the inhalation, into the prana, which is the exhalation, apanam juhati. You are giving the inhalation. So what is happening? You are exhaling, therefore you have renounced the inhalation. Right? Therefore, rechaka prana. Apana inhalation is offered as the oblation, destroyed. It is made non-existent. When you exhale, what happens? What is destroyed? Inhalation is being destroyed. Therefore, it's exactly the reverse. So he's showing or making us understand that even that simple natural practice which you do, natural karma of inhaling and exhalation can be looked upon as a yajna with awareness, providing you are doing it as Shastra says with the mantras. Is that clear? The first line. Apane juhati pranam, pane panam tathapare.
Acharya, I have one question.
Yes.
When you were meaning that the Pranamaya Kosha is between the Annamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha, what was the implication of this?
What was the meaning of that?
Yes, like because if it's in the middle of the other two koshas, that's why the pranayam exercises affects the health and also the mind. It's
Obviously.
because of the proximity.
Yes, because they are
Okay.
which was pranamaya sandwich between the two. Any manipulation of the pranayama will also affect the manomaya and the annamaya.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now we want next one.
Om
Apare.
Acharya.
Yes.
So you said apana, into apanam, that word which you do. Is there any particular meaning for apanam?
Apana means in Sanskrit is called apana. You can call it apana also. The ma suffix indicates it as the object of the sentence. So you have to say pranaha apane, which means pranaha is the subject, apane is the object. It's simple Sanskrit grammar. Okay.
Acharya.
Then apare. There are other people. What do they do? So he is still talking about the pranayama people. Okay. So prana, apana, gati, rudva. Now, what have we talked about? We have talked about puraka pranayama and rechaka pranayama. What is left? Kumbhaka pranayama. Pranayama where the retention is being focused upon. So he says prana, pana, gati. You have to read that by breaking it up. Prana, apana, gati, rudva. Rudva means to stop. Prana, apana, gati means the flow of inhalation and exhalation. They stop, which means it is kumbhaka. Kumbhaka pranayam kurvanti. These people, they are doing kumbhaka pranayama. And remember that while inhalation and exhalation are also important, when the mind is restless, it is said that kumbhaka pranayama is the preferred pranayama. Now, why is kumbhaka pranayama preferred pranayama for stopping the mind from being restless?
Because there is no breath in that moment, so everything gets still.
Anybody can quote from
Chale,
yogic text?
chale, vate, chale, chale, something like that.
Very
No
good.
movement.
Yeah, I mean, the net result of it is that chale vatam, chale chittam. As long as the breath is moving, the mind is moving. And nischalam, nischalam bhavet. When the breath has stopped, the thoughts also stop. It's from a yogic textbook. Okay. Hatha Yoga Pradipika. So, when your mind is less restless, what is it? Your mind is having too many thoughts. And the yoga text says that if your mind is having too many thoughts and you want to restrict the thoughts, you stop the breath, not inhalation and exhalation. Kumbhaka pranayama is talking about. Okay, now here, a very technical point. I just pointed out so that you are aware. You look at the word gati, prana, pana, gati. Do you see anything unusual? Those who know Hindi. All of you know Hindi. What is the problem with prana, pana, gati as written in the text?
The matra,
Badi
It is-
matra, badi matra,
the matra,
Matra. So what is the actual matra for gati?
choti matra.
Right.
plus
So you and I wouldn't notice that unless you actually are pointed out, but Shankara notices. So he says prana, apana, gati. Gati is got long e ki matra, long e, which is wrong. It should be only short e. And therefore he says you should read it twice. Gati, gati. Why should you read it twice? Because it refers to both the movements, the inhalation and the exhalation, inward movement and outward movement. You should refer to both. And therefore he says when you say rudhva, rudhva means niruddha, to stop, to control. Shankara is very clear. When you are saying control, you have to control both the movements. It is not just that you control either inhalation or exhalation. That is not kumbhaka. You have to control both. You should neither inhale nor should you exhale. It's a very technical explanation, but Shankara being Shankara, he wants to be very clear. So he says, when you control both the movements, then it is called kumbhaka pranayama. And he says, which movement should you control? He is very clear about that also. He said, mukha nasikabhyam vayoho, that vayu, that air, which is going nasikabhyam, in and out through your nostrils, or mukha, going out through your mouth also, nirgamanam, you have to stop it from going out, and pranaha. That is called, that pranaha you have to stop. So he's saying that just by stopping it from your nostrils, it is not sufficient. You have to stop it from going out through your mouth also. And he adds something, he says, both directions. The air which is going down is apana, the air which is going out is prana, both you have to stop. Right? Krishna has not given any name to this pranayama in this particular verse. He has just said nirodhaha, you have to stop. So Shankara, in his commentary, he says this is called kumbhaka pranayama. Okay. Shankara is very elaborate. But even though Shankara is elaborate, he simply says kumbhaka and stops there. He does not give any more explanations. And therefore, we have other commentators. In this case, there is a commentator called Madhusudana Saraswati, who has written Gudartha Tipika. So he says, even in this kumbhak, there are two types of kumbhak. One is anta kumbhak and one is bahya kumbhak. So anta kumbhak means stopping your breath after inhalation. So post puraka, after doing puraka, after inhaling, you stop your breath. It is called anta kumbhaka. The other type is after exhaling, you stop your breath. It is called bahya kumbhaka. After rechaka, kumbhaka is bahya kumbhaka. After puraka, kumbhaka is anta kumbhaka. Remember, both these kumbhakas, they will quieten the mind, but it is not permanent quietude. The permanent quietening of the mind is triggered only by jnana. Okay, that we should always remember. The mind being permanently in a state of quietude will be triggered only by properly assimilated jnanam. But most people need an external aid so that they can come and quieten the mind at least temporarily, and that temporary mind is temporarily or relatively quiet mind is necessary for what? For coming to jnana. So it's like the emergency aid. If you get to an accident, there's an emergency aid which will take care of you until you reach the hospital, and then there is a permanent treatment. So this temporarily quiet mind which you acquire through this practice of pranayama, it is your emergency aid until you come to the hospital, which is Vedanta hospital, and then the study of the scriptures will give you permanent aid. So pranayamena apekshika shanti. Through pranayama, you get relative quietness of mind. Jnānena atyantika shanti. Through knowledge, you get a permanent state of mind. So those two words are used. Apekshika shanti, relative quietude of mind, dropping of the FIR. Atyantika shanti, permanently stopping the mind from giving you problems. So these people who Krishna is referring to are those who have sought this emergency aid. They are pranayama practitioners. They are doing pranayama yajna. Pranayama means what? Prana ayamaha. Ayamaha means mastery or discipline, coming from the word yamane, to discipline. Yamane comes from the word yama. Strange, no? Control comes from yama. Who is yama? Yamraj. Why is he called the one who disciplines?
Time is in his hands and he
No.
controls
Life and death.
life and
controls.
everything he
He
has.
He
disciplines
controls
the
life and death.
Right.
is ultimate population controller. Is
Yeah.
Yamaraj. So he's a discipliner. And therefore, from that word yamane, to discipline. From yamane ayamaha, to master or to discipline. And therefore prana ayamaha, to regulate or master the inhalation and the exhalation. And remember that when we say pranayamaha, we are regulating not just prana. We are regulating apana, vyana, udana, samana. All the four are mastered through pranayama. So through pranayama, your digestion improves, your circulation improves, your excretory functions improve, your bodily functions improve, everything improves. And as a side note, somewhere in the Shastra it is said, pranayama can be done not only just as a physical exercise, preferably as a yajna, but it can be done as a prayaschita karma also. So you'll find that in traditional ashrams, if somebody does something wrong, in school, what do? You are made to go and kneel under the bell, right? I don't know if you knelt under the bell. I knelt plenty of times. But in traditional ashrams, if you do something wrong, the punishment is that you go and you do prayashchita karma by way of pranayama. You do 1 hour of pranayama. That is a prayashchita karma. Okay, I'll stop here. Any questions?
Om Acharya ji.
Yes, ji. Amit ji, boliye.
Acharya ji, like you were saying that if we focus on Pura Kumbhakar, that is it's called that sort of a pranayam. So, but when we do Anulom Vilom, we focus on all the three aspects. So it will fall in which category?
No, you don't focus on all the three aspects. All the three aspects you do, right? But if you are converting to yajna, there is a visualization involved. And depending upon what is the visualization, that depends on which pranayama it is. So if you are visualizing that the first part of it, apane, the inhalation is the fire, then you are doing puraka pranayama. But if you are visualizing that the exhalation is the fire, then you are doing rechaka pranayama. So it is a visualization which gives you that particular categorization.
So can you elaborate visualization on fire? What do you exactly mean by that?
I just finished telling you. When
Visualization
you say
during Havan.
in a Havan, what is the role of the fire?
We offer offering to the fire.
What happens to the offering?
Get absorbed.
It gets destroyed, it gets absorbed, it gets renounced. In fact, in the mantra, if you are using, when you give something into the fire, are you aware what are the two words which are said?
Swaha.
Swaha.
Swaha is okay. Swaha means I'm offering. And then you say na mama. It is no longer mine.
Mm.
Right? So assuming, let's forget about the ghee. Assuming that you are offering a bigger oblation, something else you're offering, right? Now, who are you offering it to? It depends on your sankalpa, which is the Lord that you're offering. Supposing, for example, let's take a very, you have got weak eyes. Okay. Who is the deity controlling the eyes, the presiding deity for the eyes?
Surya.
Surya. And therefore, you do a yajna to Surya Bhagavan. Okay. In the yajna, you're offering the ghee. But remember, the ghee or whatever, right? I'm saying ghee for simplicity's sake because everybody knows. That ghee you're offering to Surya Bhagavan, but you're offering it into the fire, right? The fire is Agni Devata. The fire is the courier service. You are offering, when you chant the mantra, you are invoking Surya Bhagavan. And when you're offering into the fire, you are telling Agni Devata that, hey Agni Devata, this offering of mine is meant for Surya Bhagavan. Please go and give it to him. Since you're saying that, you are saying it is no longer mine. Na mama. That na mama is crucial. What does that na mama mean? I have renounced this. It is no longer mine. And that is what you are doing here. Apani juhati pranam. The inhalation, the exhalation you are renouncing. Pranam. The exhalation you are renouncing because you are offering that exhalation to the inhalation, which I explained. When you inhale, you cannot exhale. So symbolically, you are offering that exhalation into the fire of inhalation. Exhalation is an oblation.
Yeah. Got it, Acharya. Thank
The
you.
whole thing is Yajna Kunda visualization.
Got it. Thank you, Acharya.
Anything else? Yes, Induji. Okay. So let us look at the next verse now. Verse number 30. Apare niyatahara
Pare niyatahara
pranan praneshu juhvati
Prananishu juhati
sarve yete yajna vidaha
Sarvepyete yajnavidaha
yajna shapita kalmashaha. Okay, there's one more question, two more questions up there. Let me answer that before we go on. June is asking, what is Jnana-kundaha? There is no Jnana-kundaha involved over here, June. It is Yajna-kundaha. Now, if you're asking Yajna-kundaha, then I will ask you to recall your first morning or the last Tuesday of your TTC. What did you do on the first Monday morning? June?
We do the Ganesha home.
Ganesha Homam you did, right? What was the priest doing?
They make like a square with bricks, and they put the fire inside, and we do the fire ceremony, throwing ghee and rice.
So
and
that
things.
arrangement of the bricks in which the fire is lit, that is called a kunda. Kunda means basically that place, the ritualistic fireplace where the sacred fire is to be lit for the yajna. Therefore, yajna kunda. It is not jnana kunda. Okay, it's yajna kunda.
Yeah, sorry. Yes.
There is no jnana kunda. Jnana kunda means that you're going to offer jnanam into that kunda and make yourself become an ajnani. So it is not that.
Yeah.
Okay, now Chris says, with the offering gone, past, no focus anymore, just present moment. I'm not very sure what that means, Chris, but I think you're reading too much into this. We are talking about the visualization of your pranayama practice as a yajna, as an offering. Okay, right. Now let us look at the words of verse number 30. So it says apare. Apare means other people. Which other people? People different from those which were mentioned in the previous verse. What do? Niyata aharaha. They regulate niyata. They regulate aharaha, their food intake. And what are they doing? Juhvati. Prana praneshu. The two words are there, prana and praneshu. So prana here means the hunger, the desire to eat. And praneshu means into the prana, into the digestive fire. So there are people who regulate their food intake by offering their hunger into the digestive fire. And sarve ete, all these people, yajna vidaha, who are subjecting themselves to various religious disciplines. What are they? What happens to them? Yajna chapita kalmashaha. The impurities of their mind have been destroyed by the yajna. So now comes the last yajna. 11 yajnas have been so far completed. Now comes the last one, 12th and final yajna. What is that? Ahara niyama yajna. Moderation in eating. Okay, ahara niyamam means the control over the eating. We can call it moderation eating. And we saw it in the 6th chapter, we saw about quantity control. I leave it to you to find out. We have not done 6th chapter. You'll see it. If you look at the 6th chapter, you'll know there is one reference to quantity control in food. And the 17th chapter, there is a reference to quality control in food. So, ahara niyamam is moderation in eating in both quantity and quality. And when we come to those particular chapters, we will do it in more detail. He's simply saying here that the moderation in eating is subject to two forms, in quantity and in quality. Okay. This also gives you a very important clue about how to study the Gita. To understand, it is said often that to understand even one chapter of the Gita, you should understand all the 700 chapters, 700 verses. If you want to understand even one verse, all the 700 verses should be understood. And therefore, total understanding of the Gita can be said to be there only when one has completed the Gita. Because of this kind of references, you are in the 4th chapter and you are referring to 6th and 17th. And once you have done the whole thing, then the whole thing, clarity is there. Okay, that's by the way only. So, apare niyataharaha, some people practice the discipline of food. What do they do? Upavasa. They undertake to refrain from food. Pranan praneshu jukhat. He offers the hunger into the digestive fire. What is the oblation? No, he's offering a prana which is not healthy into a healthy prana, thus converting unhealthy pranas to healthy prana. Why is that so? Because if one prana is not healthy, others also get affected. So when you are regulating prana apana, remember you're also regulating samana, udana, vyana. And therefore, if you do all of that, my digestion and circulation will improve. In fact, there is a small little Subhashitam. Subhashitam is a good saying in Sanskrit. I will try to, explain it to you. Ekadashayam tu sarvesham kartavyam bhojanadvayam shuddhopavasaha prathamaha satkatha shravanam punaha. Look at the individual words. Ekadashayam, during Ekadashi. Dvayam kartavyam. There are two things which you should do. Prathamaha, first, Shuddha Upavasaha. Shuddha here is taken as complete, pure. So pure Upavasa means pure fasting. Prathama is you have to observe a complete fast. Punaha. Afterwards, what should you do? Sat Katha Shravanam. You should go to Satsang and you should do Shravanam. And it says, Bhojanaha, O people. So, O people, during Upavasa, two things have to be done. First is you have to fast, and then you have to do Shravanam. Most of us do the first, but not the second. And there is a humorous interpretation of this Savastam also. Bhojanaha means what? It's a way of addressing people. Hey Janaha. Bho is a way of saying hey Janaha. But there is a humorous way of saying that you make these two words into one word, and then it becomes Bhojana Dvayam. During Ekadashi, you should eat 2 times. Okay. Of course, that is by the way. Normally, you should be fasting during these practices. So here, Krishna is referring to fasting. But again, you have to look at it practically. You cannot do all the yajnas, and things like fasting are not there or are not practical for everybody. So if you have acidity, then you shouldn't be having upvasa at all. If you are healthy, you can take fruit and milk, or you can just drop one thing. If you eat everyday rice, you say, okay, today I won't have rice, that is my upvasa. Whatever it is, what you are doing is not so important as the attitude with which you are doing. So Shastra is simply saying practice self-discipline. Sarve api yajna vidaha. All these people who practice discipline with a focused mind, they are all great people. They are all great sadhakas. And you must note here that yajna vidaha means the person who has the knowledge and practices it. Yajna vidaha can be interpreted to mean the person who knows about the technique. That is not being mentioned here. Yajna vidaha is the person who knows the technique and also practices it. Because in the area of karma, knowledge of karma is of no use. You have to have the knowledge and you have to do the karma to get the benefit. Why is this so? For example, there is a Nachiketa Homam. Okay, it is a ritual to get Swarga. So mere knowledge of that ritual is not going to get you Swarga. You have to have the knowledge of the ritual and you have to perform the ritual. The difference between karma and jnanam is this. Both involve knowledge. But in karma, the knowledge has to be followed up by action. In jnanam, the knowledge itself gives the benefit. In karma, the knowledge gives no benefit. Only knowledge followed by the action. Implementation of the knowledge gives the benefit. In jnanam, knowledge itself gives the benefit. And what is the benefit? Yajna, Shapita, Kalmashaha. All the inner impurities, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madaha, Matsarya, all these are destroyed. And all impurities, when they say, we include Purva Janma Papam is also destroyed. With this, all the 12 yajnas are complete. And Krishna is saying, let a person practice any one of these yajnas in any combination. And he says, Sarve api yajna vidaha bhavanti. Everyone will become a yajna vidaha. Everyone will become a dvija, a twice born. Once you become twice born, that's a very important phase. Everyone will become dvija. Dvija means twice born. And Shastra says only the dvija can become Aja. Only the one who is born twice can become the one who is never born. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions?
Acharya, you said something about the bhojanam. I didn't get it. The meaning for bhojanam.
There is a joke. Bhojanaha is Hey Janaha, O people. But you join the two words, Bhojanam becomes food. And therefore,
Oh.
Bhojanaha Dvayam is referring to, hey people, do two things. What are they? Fast and listen to Shravanam. But you join them and it says Bhojana Dvayam, eat twice during Ekadashi. It's only in a lighter way. Okay, it's not meant to be deeply contemplated over.
Okay. So to summarize this was, people, others apart from the pranayama who are doing, so they are offering their hunger as a yajna here.
They are fasting.
Okay.
See, you use the same logic. When you are offering the inhalation into the exhalation, the inhalation is the oblation. When you are, in this case, what do you normally offer into your digestive fire? Food. Right? Correct?
Yes.
Now, when you fast, you are not taking the food. So what is it that you're renouncing? You're renouncing your hunger. And therefore, it is a hunger which becomes the oblation. And where is it being offered? Into the fire, which is your digestive fire.
So by doing the Shravanam only it becomes a spiritual practice, not like just fasting and not doing anything.
Just fasting is of no use excepting for physical health. But if you are doing the Shravanam, now Shravanam means Vedantic scriptures. What are you doing? Like in Pranayama, you are doing the mantra, here you are doing the Shravanam. So that makes it a Yajna. The whole idea is to view all your activities as Yajna. The moment you say, I am in a Yajna, you are saying that Ishvara is the center of my life. I am a sadhaka.
Okay. Acharya, can you please put in the group the one which you were saying about Om Bhu Swaha, the mantras for breathing?
I'll do that. The Pranayama mantra, I'll do that.
Thank you.
So Ravi ji, I have one question. That's why in our TTC we were taught that we should always focus on the point during pranayama, focus on the either a Agnya chakra or a heart chakra, and visualize your guru or your deity. So this is what it means?
Yeah, see, the moment you are doing a mantra, the mantra is to a particular deity, right? Your Ishtadevata.
Yes.
And therefore you can visualize the Ishtadevata either on two places, the Agnya chakra or the Anahata chakra, and depending on how you're doing it. And they said, in TTC, they say that if you are emotional, then you do it in one place. If you're intellectual, then you visualize the Agnya chakra. All those things are part of Yoga Shastra. We are not dealing with it Vedanta, but the simple point is you visualize and then you are doing the name, which is why it becomes a Yajna. Remember, your TTC is, though everybody thinks you have to learn asana practice, it is not. You may learn asana practice in TTC, you may become a good teacher also, but the whole thing is to transform your life. The whole thing is to put you on the path to moksha. That is the purpose of TTC. Anybody who misses that, I mean, at least in my opinion, the TTC has been a waste.
Thank you.
Ravi sir, you said that Krishna said that out of these 12 yajnas, anybody who does the yajna in any number of things, you said it's equivalent to two something. I missed that point. Twice life or...
No.
Sorry.
See, there is something called Dvija in Sanskrit. Dvija means twice born.
Twice born.
Now, in our culture, in the traditional thing, there are 4 varnas. You are aware?
Yes.
What are they?
Brahmacharya, Grasta, 4 varnas.
Varna, not
That's
ashramas.
Purushartha. Yeah, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, and Vaishnava.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Not Vaishnava, Vaishya. Okay.
Vaishya.
Now, traditionally, out of these 4 Varnas, 3 Varnas were eligible to study the Vedas. So normally, we say Dvija is Brahmin, but it is not so. Dvija refers to 2 ceremonies. One is there is ceremony when you are born. That is the first ceremony, the first birth. And one is when you do the Upanayanam for you to become eligible to study the Vedas. There you are born again, because there you have a second father who is the Guru. So Dvija means a person who is born first. Everybody is born. The second birth is when you become eligible to study the Vedas. Okay, so Dvija, twice born. And then traditionally, excepting Shudras, all the 3 others are eligible to study the Vedas. Now, don't ask me why Shudra. It's only traditional. We are not getting into that at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Remember,
Dvija here means a person who is.
One.
Why are you studying the Vedas? To get moksha. That is the primary reason, not to become an Acharya. And therefore, Dvija means a person for whom moksha is a primary criterion. And therefore, he says, if you are doing yajna, then you will become a Dvija. Sarve api yajna vidaha bhavanti. You will become a person who is eligible for moksha. Okay. So with this, we'll stop for today.
Om Acharya ji, I have one question. Acharya.
Yes, please go ahead.
What is the reason behind we are not eating rice on the Ekadashi day? They say, I mean, in our house, they say ki when Krishna has fight with one demon, the demon said that I will take birth in the form of a rice. So is it?
These are Puranas. We don't get into all this. Okay. So for those stories, you have to read Puranas. Don't go. There are 2 things. One is to enjoy the story as it is. And one is to look into the meaning. So we are looking into the meaning. So there we don't get into these sort of niceties.
Okay. Thank you, Acharya.
Okay. Om Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya
Purnamadaya Purnameva Om Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya. Thank